Ladies and gentlemen, we got it. Weed is now legal in California. Now, if ever there was cause for celebration, this is it. And I'll tell you why. It's not just because people want to get high. It's because it has huge policy ramifications. And it's not just because it's California. It's because it's over. Here, I'm going to declare it over right now. Marijuana will be legal everywhere. Once I pound the gavel, it is OVAH, OVA. So let me explain why. Let's go to HuffPost for an explanation of the law in California. Adults who are at least 21 years old can legally purchase recreational marijuana from select retail shops in California beginning Monday. So that was yesterday. A milestone that instantly makes the state the world's largest legal marijuana marketplace. Okay, so it's gigantic. California, if it was its own country, would be among the top 7 economies in the world. So that's how large California is, both in size and in economy. But there are even wider ramifications. The state's new recreational marijuana industry has a projected value of as much as $7 billion, enough to make it the world's largest legal marijuana market, and is predicted to eventually generate $1 billion annually in local and state tax revenue. OVAH, OVA. Once the government gets hooked on that $1 billion, it's a gateway drug to having marijuana legal forever. You know, I'm using gateway drug, of course, mockingly of the right wing and the preposterous argument they made about marijuana for decades and decades. But it's not just about the government needing that tax revenue. Much more importantly, guys, and what is not mentioned in these articles nearly enough, almost not at all, is once you have corporations profiting from marijuana to the tune of $7 billion in California alone, we're done with this thing. Then all of a sudden, corporate power flips to the other side and goes, marijuana? What do you mean gateway drug? Schedule 1, it's fantastic, it's wonderful. You know how much money we're making? And then you grease some politicians and this thing is done, it's done. Nobody's gonna turn down that kind of profit. And then they're gonna want it in all the neighboring states, then all the states, and then all across the world. So corporate America, unfortunately, has a lot of downsides, including bribing almost all of our politicians here in America. But the upside is if you let corporations do marijuana, you will have legal marijuana everywhere. Okay, California produces vast amounts, as HuffPost continues to explain, Matt Ferner writing here, vast amounts of marijuana and has done so for years. Now, more than 20 years after the state legalized medical marijuana, 28 other states allow cannabis for medical purposes. 8 states, including California and the District of Columbia, have also legalized the plant for adult recreational purposes. You're not going to roll back 28 states' legislation. This is not an issue that goes back and forth. Oh, look, the right wing is winning now and the left wing is more momentum later, and it goes, no. Once marijuana becomes legal in California, as it has now become, there's no rolling it back. You're not gonna roll back to 28 states. You know why? Because we've been right all along. There's nothing wrong with marijuana. So does it have a couple of downsides? Of course, as anything does. But is it more dangerous than heroin and cocaine and meth and fentanyl? No, it's not. Is it more dangerous than painkillers you're taking? No. Is it more dangerous than alcohol? No. So if it was, you know what would happen after California legalized it, let alone all the other states which have already done so recreationally, let alone medical marijuana? People would have started dying, right? They would be like, oh my God, did you hear about the 13 guys who died yesterday from smoking marijuana? But that doesn't happen, because it was all lies. So instead what's gonna happen is, hey, did you hear about the 13 guys or 13,000 guys who smoked marijuana the other day and felt a little bit better, either in terms of actual pain relief, which helps soldiers suffering from PTSD as one of many, many examples, or did you hear about the 130,000 people who smoked marijuana yesterday and had a good time, and that was that? They made a good time illegal. I thought this was a free country, but it's gonna be free again. And so this is fantastic news. Now, in California, they went a little farther. Now, why this legislation is actually even better and more progressive than in some of the other states. And honestly, I could have imagined when they started this process. The law goes beyond the regulation and taxation of marijuana and aims to repair damage from the country's failed war on drugs. Individuals with prior marijuana-related convictions that wouldn't have been a crime under the new law or would have resulted in a lesser punishment can petition courts to have their record reclassified or cleared altogether. That is great news. Now remember, one of Richard Nixon's top aides said in the 1990s, yes, we started the war on drugs to go after our political enemies, hippie liberals and black people. He said it. He told you why they did it. Now to free those prisoners that for smoking marijuana, when all of our presidents lately have smoked marijuana, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, they've all done it, right? But they never went to prison because they're among the elites. To free those people who are not in the elites, who were imprisoned and arguably enslaved, working for $1 a day at slave wages in some of these prisons, that is a monumental difference maker. It's a great day in America. They should do this all across the country. And they're not done yet. In addition, some local jurisdictions are giving priority or other assistance to marijuana business license applicants previously convicted of low-level marijuana offenses or who come from low-income communities hit hard by harsh drug war policies. For years and years, for decades, they crushed those local communities. The only economic opportunity they had, unfortunately, was the booming drug trade in their neighborhood. Now they've turned it around and said, we were wrong. So if we're going to start up shops and this is going to be legal and these are going to be real businesses, we should give those same communities which we oppressed and crushed and imprisoned for all this time for something that was actually perfectly safe. We're going to give them an opportunity first. In my mind, that is wonderful. And all these states, there are no cases of people going wild on marijuana. It was all propaganda. Nobody's lost their mind. That's not the gateway drug. The gateway drug, unfortunately, is legal prescription painkillers. As we've seen with the opioid epidemic, these steps are wonderful. One last piece of news for you in regards to this for the whole country. A recent Gallup poll found that 64% of Americans favor making marijuana legal, the highest since the pollster first posed the question almost 5 decades ago. Majorities of Republicans, Democrats, and independents all voiced support for legal marijuana. It's over. Marijuana will be legal everywhere, and it as well as should be. And California has, in my opinion, struck the death blow for this insane war on marijuana that has been going on for far too long. Another great job by one of the most progressive states in the country in leading the way towards righteousness, justice, and rationality.